All right, we are going to go through the all-time Buckeye lineup according to Buckeye fan Dan and Cleveland Jay. I am going to preface this for a couple things. One, this was a lot harder than I anticipated. I've changed my lineup and the other things we're doing in the show up until showtime. For the last month, I've kind of played around with it. I keep on changing it. So it's much harder than I thought. Dan seems to think it went pretty easily. How was your prep for the show?
Well, I don't want to say it was easy. I mean, we had to go through a lot of Buckeyes, right? There's a lot of great players who came through the program.
Yeah.
I mean, big impact not only on the university, but, you know, in football in general, and college football, and then going on to the pros. So I think one of the things that you told me when we were prepping for the show was it's up to interpretation.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I had my own thought process on each position here. And it just came to a different conclusion for each one. But man, I was talking to one of my buddies about this as I was prepping. He hates my list. I can just tell you right now, he hates it. And he was getting on me about it.
I think Felix is going to too.
Oh yeah, we'll see how this goes. Look, I'm gonna have a good time whether anybody else does or not. I had a blast putting this together, and this is fun for me.
Yeah, I did too. I think the thing that stands out for me prepping this was how many Buckeyes I'd forgotten, and we're gonna hopefully we'll talk about a little bit about that with Felix later. Just going through the list of all the Buckeyes and reminiscing about all the great players and players I love that necessarily weren't great. I used to love Carlos Snow. He's not on my list, but he was a great Buckeye. He was a great running back for us. Just all kinds of people that I had forgotten. And we'll go through them later. But this list is not the definitive list. We're not saying that this is the all-time list because sometimes we're going to go with who is legitimately we feel the best person at the position. Sometimes it's just we're going to go, we love the players so much that we had to put them on the list. So keep that in mind, Felix, when we get you on, when you start giving us flack for some of our choices. All right, tech-wise. I have mine typed in here on Dan's. I'm going to kind of do it on the fly, so it's going to be live doing it. So we'll see how this goes and see how it works. So, what position you want to start with, Dan?
Well, let's just go from the top down.
No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. No. Okay, I'll take it back. I'm not going to give you control. Let's go with the easiest according to me. Okay
fair enough.
So, with the easiest that I said. Because you gave me a look when I brought this up last time in our first call. If you have anybody else here, I'm going to be worried about you. All right. So let's go offensive line. All right. I, of course, have as soon as I find them. Orlando Pace, the pancake man. I don't like the look on your face, Dan. Okay, so
I mean, who's not going to say Orlando Pace there, other than me? But Orlando Pace is a legend.
Gosh, did you really not say Orlando Pace here? Felix is looking at me like, all right.
Yeah, it's nothing against Orlando Pace, but you said it was up to my interpretation and why I would vote for somebody.
Okay,
right?
Yep. Go ahead, Dan.
So Youngstown, Ohio. More specifically, if we really want to nerd out and get into like the exact geographic location where I'm located is Warren, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And so I had to go with Corey Stringer. He graduated from the same high school as me. And he led our high school team to a state championship, went on to Ohio State and did a phenomenal job. And then obviously went over to the NFL and did what he did there. And life cut too short. So just from my perspective and the community in which I live, it was the most impactful, the best offensive lineman in Ohio State history is Corey Stringer.
Rest in peace. Felix is putting up a note that I can't see. He's quitting. I think he just walked off the show.
That's just one of the picks that he's going to hate. I get it.
I will say this: if there's anybody else, it was Corey Stringer. But I'm sorry, I'm going to get this right here. I will say of all the Buckeyes, and I don't know if you can debate this or not. Felix and I talked about this a little bit earlier. Of all the Buckeyes, at any position, Orlando Pace is the best Buckeye at any position that we've ever had. So for me, it's hard to not go with Orlando Pace. I understand the connection with Corey Stringer. I respect that. I loved Corey Stringer. I loved watching him play. It's so sad that he left us. God, when was that? What year was that? Do you remember when he passed away? Felix knows. He's written it down.
I don't remember what year it was, but I remember it was a shock. I mean, this whole community just kind of shut down for a couple.
And I believe he was with the Vikings, right? He was with the Vikings.
Yeah, he was on the Vikings.
Yeah, Corey Stringer's a great choice. You're wrong. In fact, I will give you one of those.
Like there's one offensive lineman, right? So
I know. We had, it's only an hour show. 3. He's giving me hand signals that I can't see. I have stuff. 2. It doesn't matter. I'll get you. You can tell me when you come on live, Felix. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, let's go
for the record, I don't know who Felix is. I've never met her, but I'm very interested to see how he just rips.
Be afraid. Be very afraid. All right, let's go to kickers. Let's go to kickers. Sure. I have Nuge.
Yeah, I mean, why would you go with anybody else? That's exactly who I have.
That's who you have?
The Clutch City.
Yep. Let me fix this here. This is 24 thing. This way I'll get a little better. All right. So Nuge. All right, we're in agreement there. Anybody else? Did you even consider anybody else?
No, Nugent was. It seems like anytime we needed a kick, he made it.
Yeah, it seems that way. I did not research kickers that much. My mom used to be like the permanent babysitter for Lou Groza, but Lou was only at Ohio State for a short time. Lou the Toe Groza, Hall of Famer. All right, kickers, that's good. All right, let's go to this one. Scared me when you told me this, and I actually told Felix you slipped this. Kick return. Teddy Ginn.
See, I didn't put him for my kick returner.
You put okay. Oh, time out. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna let you finish.
Well, we have kick returner and punt returner.
Okay. All right, fair enough. All right. So
so for me growing up, who I always thought it was fun to say his name, and he was a stud. He was fast. Was Kenyan Rambo.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I went through this list, so as an example, I didn't research websites or all-time Buckeye list. I went by, who I could remember and what impact they made for me. And Kenyan Rambo, man, he was a game changer as well. So
yeah, I liked Rambo.
That's what I'm going with.
I think he didn't live up to his hype. Felix, give me a thumbs up if you agree with me. No, all right. Thumbs down. All right, he gave me a thumbs down. He gave me one of these. He gave me one of these.
As long as it's the thumb.
Give me a thumbs down.
A different finger.
Kenyan Rambo is actually one of the players I had forgotten about when I was putting the show together. I'd forgotten about him. All right. Okay. I'll let you go first on punt 10. So you put Teddy Ginn for punt returner then?
Yeah, punt returner. He was dangerous. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was just, especially playing trestle ball. It was all about field position. And he could just change the dynamic of a game in an instant through a punt, right? And whenever he touched the ball, it was always exciting, whether it was a receiver or a punt returner or a kick returner. He was always dangerous, especially in the national championship game when he ran back that kickoff.
I will say this from the national championship, that moment, the kickoff of that game, obviously the rest of it went drastically downhill. That moment, Felix was there. Forgot the other guy, the guy we were with. That was the guy who was the radiologist. Like, he's not here with me. So, the when he took that kickback might have been the highest I've ever been as a sports fan. We waited all that time, the 66 days off, and we opened the game with a kick return to the house. I was on cloud 9. I remember I couldn't breathe real well because I was just like hyperventilating. And then the rest of it, I forgot about the rest of it. But
I was there. I was in.
I was
in Glendale. I was
nice.
There. Or we saw him catch the kickoff, right? Because I was in one of the end zone seats, and he ran it back to the other end zone. But you just watched this whole open up, and he just he smacked through there, and it was so fast. It was going nuts.
And then he celebrated.
And then the rest of the game happened.
Yeah, then he celebrated and messed up his ankle. All right, so Felix is waiting on pins and needles for this because I told him I did not have Teddy Ginn as my punt returner, and this was just a pure passion pick because I loved him. I had to put him in here somewhere, and he was a great returner. Do you know who I want to pick? Dane Sansenbacher.
Oh, hey.
Dane Sansenbacher, one of those guys, possession receivers, but he was a great returner. Took a couple to the house. Actually, did he take one against Michigan? I believe.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe he did. I think he did in '86, didn't he? No, he didn't. One of the years I thought he did. Felix is shaking his head. We'll see. All right, let's go. All right, let's go to defensive line. There's so many people here, but Dan, what do you think for defensive line? It's a tough category.
I went through who I just got the most excited about whenever he lined up. I thought, man, he's going to make a play here, and he came in through some clutch situations with Will Smith. That's who I went with. It was tough. This one was tough.
Yeah,
but I ended up going with Will Smith.
This one is
definitely. They just offered his son a scholarship.
Yeah, I saw that
just the other day.
Yeah, I saw that. We're right here. He was definitely on my list. This was a tough one because you have all the internal linemen. You have the Bosa brothers. You have so many people on that line.
Wilkinson.
Big Daddy Wilkinson, and we had Hayward rather. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot, and just recently you have the Bosas. You have Hubbard. You have so
Chase
many.
Young.
Well, that's who I have. That's who I ended up putting. Is Chase Young. I ended up going with Chase Young. He was a freak. This was a tough one. I had Will Smith for a long time, but I ended up going with Chase Young. Right. All right. We'll finish off defense and we'll go to offense, even though these are some tough ones. All right. So what do you have for linebacker?
This is another one where I went back and forth, and who I initially thought I was going to go with Andy Katzenmoyer because he was just a stud.
He was a stud his first year.
However, AJ Hawk.
Yeah.
He was gritty. He wasn't the flashiest with Schlegel and Carpenter there, but man, he just did all the dirty work and got it all done. And so AJ Hawk.
Yeah. I loved AJ. I think it's a great pick. There were so many. Marcus Merrick, Tom Kuzno. Everybody forgets about Tom Kuzno. What a great player he was. There were so many great linebackers. But
even from where I'm at, I should have probably went with Randy Gradishar.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
right up the road.
Yep.
If I'm using Corey Stringer for that logic, but
yeah.
AJ Hawk.
Well, I'm going to hold you to some of that logic later on. So, I mean, a lot of great linebackers, but come on. I mean, there's one that stands out above the rest. He finished in the top 5 for the Heisman 3 times or 2 times as a linebacker, and the only person it can be is Chris Spielman. Chris Spielman is the linebacker. He's Ohio State.
Who's going to argue that one?
Yeah, we're doing a segment later on. Who's the 4 faces of the Buckeye Mount Rushmore? That's a guy that you got to consider on that list. I'm just saying. I'm not foreshadowing or anything. I'm just saying. Chris Spielman is Buckeye. People think of Buckeyes. He's one of those faces that you know and you recognize. Again, if you're watching on the YouTube or Twitter or Twitch or Facebook, if you want to chat, we'll get the chats and we can give a shout out to you. And also make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any episodes. They'll all be recorded as well, and you'll be able to play that through. Felix is just waiting to talk, so he's going to let us have it. All right. DBs, this is a really tough category. Again, I think there's one answer. I think I know where you're going to go. I'm guessing, Dan, but defensive backs.
So this was hard for me, actually. But I went back to who was the first DB that I thought was just amazing, and that was Shawn Springs.
Yeah.
So that's who I went with.
Yeah, I love Shawn Springs. He was one of my favorite Buckeyes of all time. Mm-hmm. Amazing career, amazing Buckeye. I think I know where Felix will go on that one, but I did not go there. I went. Where is this at? Oh, there it is. Jack Tatum. Had to go Jack Tatum. Felix agrees with me. He's giving me the thumbs up. I had to go Jack Tatum. There's so many people. I loved Mike Doss. Antonio Winfield was amazing. Shawn Springs is one of my favorite places. Yeah, this was a tough one too.
Well, for me, it was really between Shawn Springs and Chris Gamble.
Yeah.
Because Chris Gamble could play some shutdown corner, and then he flipped around and he also played some receiver. I mean, the famous pass interference call in the national championship.
We will be talking about that later.
Yeah, he kind of sold that, and I think that's probably because he was a DB and he knew what to do and how to react in that situation, which helped us win a national championship game. So
Glad we don't have
yeah,
calls into the show because I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people bitching about that one. All right, so that's a pretty good list so far. I like that.
hey, I love what Jim Tressel said after that game regarding that call. He just goes, "Human error is part of the game." Cracks me up to this day.
All right, let's move on to offense and go tight ends. I have no idea where you're going this. I know where you should go with it, but I know you're not.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah, I want you to go
you're gonna
first.
hate this pick too, but for me, it's Ricky Dudley. He was a stud. He was
I
tall,
actually
he's
thought
big.
that's who you were going to put.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, for me, is Ben Hartstock as well. Like,
Yeah.
I just remember him. I think it was him against Texas. He just missed this ball that hit him right here, and we ended up losing. It just annoyed me. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Ricky Dudley's definitely up there. Hartstock. There's Hoyerman was great. He didn't play. I mean, there's a lot of them. But there's one. I went chalk here, but John Frank, greatest Buckeye tight end ever, hands down. Case closed. Sorry, I loved Ricky Dudley.
Yeah,
He was so slow. It seemed like though he's just so big and like lumbering. But he was great. I loved watching him play. So, all right. So these next three categories, I've changed this so many times. Yeah, just so you know, I'm not watching the time because I'm not going to be able to. I need a timer on this. Wide receivers, I've changed this a million times on all these. I think wide receiver was the easiest of this bunch, and I went Chris Carter. I went old number 2. Another one of those guys like Spielman that when you think Ohio State football, he's one of those guys, Hall of Famer. Had to go with Chris Carter, and that's when I was really when I not first started watching, but I loved watching him. He could catch. I mean, he was so exciting, and he was awesome. And we've had so many receivers. I will say Jackson Smith and Jigba is probably going to rewrite all the record books, and I love watching him play. So didn't throw anybody new on here, but it's tough. And I love Chris Olave. I've loved so many. I love Brian Hartline. There's so many, but I had to go with Chris Carter on this one.
So my initial pick was Chris Carter, but I thought, you're probably going to have that, and I didn't win. So I'm like, who was exciting? And to me, I mean, obviously through the years, but man, some of those Cooper teams, and it's David Boston. David Boston came in and broke a bunch of records, and that was even during the Eddie George era where we were just handing the ball off to him. If we didn't have Eddie George and we had to go focus a little bit more on an air attack, I think David Boston could have been even better. He was a stud, man.
He was a total stud.
Yeah. He was just fun to watch.
Terry Glenn around those same time too. It's like he's another Buckeye that's gone. Again, it seems like because it's Ohio State, there seems like there's so many players at each position. This was a lot harder than I anticipated. The next two were my hardest. That's why I left them for last. I'm going to let you go first on running backs.
Oh, you're going to hate it.
Oh, God.
Because Ohio State has a love-hate relationship with this guy. But Ward G. Harding, class of 2002, I'm going with Maurice Clarett.
No.
That's who I'm going with.
No, I'm good with that.
If I want one running back in a game to win it,
no.
Who needs to make a play?
I'm okay with that. I don't think he's the greatest Buckeye running back of all time. He only played the 1 year, so I discount him just for that itself. But
it was a pretty good year.
It was a good year. No, and I like how he's kind of turned things around in his life because I mean the aftermath of all that time was just crazy stories. So I'm glad that he's back on his feet and doing well.
Man, when he ripped that ball out of Shawn Taylor's hand,
saved the game. That was
national championship game. Holy Moses! Yeah, I went nuts.
Oh, nuts. Yeah. The swing of emotion there was just unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. It was different. That year was different because it'd been so long, and since that time we've been on the fringes of making there every year, but that year was magical. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I don't even remember who I ended up going with. I had to. I could not go with Archie. I played around with Eddie and even J.K. I mean, they've had so many good running backs. Archie, I mean, he had almost 2,000 yards, more yards than any other Ohio State running back. Granted, he had 4 years in, but yeah, I mean, again, he is the guy when you think of Ohio State football. He's who most people who aren't Ohio State fans thinks of Archie. Obviously, the only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner. He should have won it his sophomore year. His best year was his sophomore year. One of the things getting ready for the show that I didn't realize, I will say, is I had a hard time picking him because those lines you and I could have run through. To be honest with you, you watch the film of those things. It was crazy. But he had his best year, I think, that sophomore year, but he averaged 11 yards a carry, 11.1 yards a carry for his career. 11. I had no idea. I would have guessed like 7 or so. 11. That's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right. I like our list. I like this. I don't think there's anything totally shocking except Rambo. I think that's shocking as hell.
Yeah, it was a great pick. Thank you.
No, it wasn't a great pick, but all right. I'm going to let you go first on this one. Quarterbacks. I can't wait to see what you do here.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. So
you tell me you didn't.
I went with the logic of, okay, I need one game to win. Maybe for a national championship, maybe against the team up north, which
okay, well that takes that out. I'm liking where you're going with this.
But you keep mentioning the state up north because apparently you're doing something with Detroit, so fine that you have to, but I'm not going to use that M word today.
Yeah, no.
But I went Cardale Jones. That's who I went with. I know. The brief period of time. Talk about the biggest moments. He shined brightest in the biggest games when he had to. If I'm putting the ball in one guy's hands, he's huge. He made good decisions. Won some important football games for us.
Yes, he did, and that was an amazing run. It was an amazing run, but
it was really between him or Steve Belisari. I wasn't sure.
Steve Belisari. I don't really know how to react to that. I love 12 Gauge. He's a Buckeye legend, always will be because of what happened. The next year was a disaster. I totally blame Urban Meyer. There's no reason on God's earth he should have started that next year. That was ridiculous. What JT had done for that team and his career. It's a different. For us not doing better that year, it's crazy. That's a ridiculous pick. I'm going to tell you right now. I love it, and it's a great memory. Yeah. And if you go with guys that just won us national championship, I don't even remember where I ended up on this. He's just my favorite Buckeye of all time, so I didn't really have much of a choice. Where is it at? Where'd he go? Where's my guys? Oh, there it is. Do I think he's the greatest Buckeye quarterback of all time? No. I love his story. I love how he developed from where he was as a freshman into what he became. I'm bummed that he ended up getting sick in the NFL. I would have liked to see what he could have done, but I had to go Troy Smith. Yeah. I had to go Troy Smith. I love Joe Germain. Statistically, Bobby Hoying had to have been up there. CJ is going to rewrite all the record books. He's going to rewrite all the records. You know what? Let's see what Felix says about this later. Let's see how you feel, Dan. I almost changed to JT Barrett. That might be an unpopular pick. I mean, statistically, all his numbers are going to be up there, but he was such a tough guy and such a leader for that team. He put that team on his back time and time and time again. I thought about switching. I just love Troy. And I love JT, but I had to go with Troy Smith. But JT Barrett probably would have been my second one.
Well, it was so the national championship against Florida, and obviously what Troy Smith came in and did he was just given a scholarship as an athlete. He really didn't have a position when he came in. So what he accomplished was just tremendous. Yep. I mean, there's nothing short of that. But JT Barrett, you're right. It seemed like we needed a leader, we needed someone to make a good decision, we needed someone to make a play. Oh man,
I think he got a bad rap the last year or so. You know, everybody said he couldn't throw. Remember, his first year he could throw fine. You know, I don't know what happened, but I think a lot of Buckeyes started hating him and, you know, was frustrated with him. But he's still, you know, he'll get it done. Whether he missed throws or not, he'd get it done for you. He did it all the time. I also think about putting Smooth Jazz on this list. Little Kenny Guyton, but I didn't. All right, well, that's a good list.